Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats and silence your cell phones. The program will begin momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, to deliver the invocation, Dr. Laura Hargrove.
Let us draw nigh to the one who is the source of our strength and the strength of our lives, and let us pray. O God, as we gather at the water's edge this morning, we find ourselves united in remembrance and reflection. We stand in the shadows of a past marked by the tragic collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, the memory of which has left an indelible mark on our hearts and our history. And in the solemnity of this moment, we invoke your presence as we honor those whose lives have been forever changed, as we acknowledge their pain, but also the possibilities that rest in the hands of the one who can make a way out of no way, even 1 year later. There are many reasons why we have gathered today. We came to pay homage to the ones who paid the ultimate price of their lives on that fateful day. We came to call their names. We came to call Alejandro's name. We came to call Carlos's name. We came to call Jose's name. Oh, we came to call the names. We came to call Miguel and Maynor and Leon. We call their names because their names hold meaning and memory. We call their names because they are still missed. We call their names because they are still loved, and we call their names because they are still remembered. We are grateful this morning for the resilience that resides in the people of this great state. And we came in a spirit of thanksgiving for the families of our 6 heroes, for the first responders, for every responder, for this administration, and for those who worked tirelessly to do in 11 weeks what they said would take 11 months. And we say, thank you. You made us believe in the power of the one that is able to make the impossible possible. For our esteemed Governor Wes Moore, who led the way with tenacity, and Lieutenant Governor Aruna K. Miller for standing in the gap, thank you. We have come to give thanks for every deed, seen and unseen, every kind word and listening ear, known and unknown, for every human and every holy act of grace that has brought us safe thus far, and that same grace will lead us on. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Secretary Paul Wiedefeld.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this somber morning. We are here to commemorate the devastating collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge and to remember the 6 dedicated roadway workers who lost their lives. I think about these men and all of our roadway workers who maintain Maryland's transportation system. They show up and work in dangerous conditions. Our roadway workers deserve our utmost respect as they take risks and make sacrifices every single day to make our journey a little smoother. 1 year ago, many of us woke up to a phone call and the disbelief that the gateway to Baltimore was gone. It was clear from the wreckage blocking the shipping channel to the Port of Baltimore that the cleanup would take time and immense coordination. Lives and livelihoods would also be impacted. Looking back on those first 72 hours, so much was happening all at once. But thankfully, Maryland was extremely fortunate to have a leader with the experience to steer us through the crisis, with the strength, the confidence, and clear direction. Governor Moore kept us focused on the mission at hand while also thinking of the people who were impacted. We're also fortunate to have such a strong partnership with our federal, state, and local leaders who worked in lockstep to ease the fears and provide best response. Through this incredible partnership across the public and private sectors, we helped bring closure to the families, supported impacted workers and businesses, and reopened the shipping channel. And now work is well underway on the governor's fourth directive to rebuild the bridge. Governor Moore unveiled the new design last month, and pre-construction activities are underway. Demolition of the remaining bridge structure will happen later this year, followed by the start of the construction of the new bridge. Let me close by expressing my immense pride in the employees of the Maryland Department of Transportation. From the quick and heroic actions of the Maryland Transportation Authority police and dispatchers who stopped traffic on the bridge and saved lives. The MDTA's Executive Director, Bruce Gartner, and Chief Engineer, Jim Harkness, who continue to work tirelessly behind the scenes to build the new Key Bridge. And I also want to thank the Port of Baltimore's Executive Director, Jonathan Daniels, and our partner, Ports America Chesapeake, who helped keep the port open for business and workers on the job. Across the entire department, MDOT remains dedicated to delivering and maintaining a safe, efficient, and reliable transportation system for all. Thank you again for joining us this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Wes Moore.
I want to thank everyone for being here. From the families, to our elected officials, to our first responders, to our military personnel, to our labor leaders, to our esteemed guests, including the Mexican ambassador. Y Padre Dios, gracias por hoy y por esta mañana. Juntos estamos en conmemoración. This morning, we gather back to where we started, in the same place, at the same time. And even though the scene looks different, our memories are engraved. We remember the cold morning in March that changed our state forever. And we remember the tears that we shed and the uncertainty that we all felt. We remember looking out and seeing a deeply painful and unfamiliar sight, that a fixture of the Baltimore skyline and of Baltimore spirit, that parts of it were now laying on top of a ship, the length of 3 football fields. We remember the heartbreak that we felt to learn that 6 remarkable Marylanders who had been working while we slept, 6 patriots who endured the rattling of cars and trucks so the rest of us could be safe, that they were now unaccounted for. What happened on March 26, 2024 is and will always be a tragedy beyond words. And to the families of the victims that are with us today, there is little that I can say to truly be the balm for the pain that you feel. But I hope that you know that the prayers that we shared that morning, they were sincere. And I hope that you know that the promises that we made, we intend to keep. But the 6 victims of the Key Bridge collapse, they should be here right now. Menor Yasir Suazo Sandoval should be here. Miguel Angel Luna Gonzalez should be here. Jose Minor Lopez should be here. Alejandro Hernandez Fuentes should be here. Dorleon Ronial Castillo Cabrera should be here. Carlos Daniel Hernandez should be here. We continue to pray for them and their loved ones. No pasa un día sin que estemos pensando en todos ustedes. Los vemos, estamos con todos ustedes y cuentan con todo nuestro apoyo, ahora y siempre. But we don't just look back on March 26th and remember the horror, we also remember the heroism. Because in the face of one of the worst tragedies in our state's history, Marylanders did what we always do. Marylanders stepped up. Our first responders, who didn't ask who was on the bridge before they dove into the water. Our firefighters, who didn't demand specifics before they rushed to the scene. Our officers who didn't ask for instructions before they put their bodies in the way of traffic to keep drivers from meeting a fatal journey in the black of night. Our service members, our Coast Guard, our Army Corps of Engineers, Navy SUPSOLV, who didn't ask who was in trouble before they kissed their loved ones goodbye and traveled to Baltimore to do their duty. The private sector rallied. The General Assembly rallied. Leaders at local and state and federal levels rallied. Our unified command rallied. We laid out 4 objectives that morning. And together, and with God's grace, we brought closure to the families, supported our people, and cleared the channel in 11 weeks when people said it would take 11 months. There were no guarantees that we would succeed. But that was not going to stop us in getting the work done. The steel was so mangled that one small misstep could set us back weeks or months. The debris was so sharp and so difficult to navigate that every single rescue operation that took place ran the risk of incurring another casualty. The devastation was so vast that we didn't know whether we could ever reunite the families with the ones that they lost. The economic impacts were so wide-ranging that Marylanders might have not just seen their jobs disappear, but they might have seen their jobs never return. And one of the most important ports in this entire country had the risk of losing partners permanently. But we did not let the what ifs stop us from doing our work and from staying the course. We led with humanity. We set big goals, and we put together a plan to achieve them. And we stayed united, always, and led from the front. I believe that is what it means to be Maryland tough and Baltimore strong. To look danger and uncertainty in the face and know that we will never flinch. To answer a moment of crisis with genuine courage, to help each other when one of us gets knocked down. It's who we are. It's who we'll always be. And I know that soon, after accomplishing the first 3 objectives, we will accomplish the 4th, which is Marylanders of this generation and the next will look up and once again see the Francis Scott Key Bridge standing tall, and you have my word on that. May God continue to watch over our victims and their families and our team and this great state. God bless you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Senate President Bill Ferguson.
Good morning. Mr. Governor, I have to admit I am more emotional than I expected this morning. Pulling up today and seeing this span immediately took me back to that moment in a way that I cannot even fathom the families of the victims of this horrible tragedy are feeling. Your loss is truly unimaginable, and I just want to say thank you for being here to remember your loved ones in a way that is impossible to describe, and I can only imagine how this past year has been. And I do want you to know, from the perspective of the General Assembly and the Senate of Maryland, we are truly here for you through this year and through the months and years ahead. This tragedy is overwhelming, and we sympathize with you every day. I remember a year ago standing on just the banks and seeing this horrific tragedy and immediately thinking of those who had been affected and thinking, how do we move forward from this? How do we not get stuck in a moment of paralysis? And I think of a saying that former President Barack Obama said, that when things seem the most hopeless, the next thing you have to do is just act. You just have to do one next thing. Find hope with one next action. And you know what I realized was that it was already happening. By 6:30 in the morning, our first responders were already in the water. Our firefighters had units from across the entire region out, ready to continue the rebuild and recovery. We had the Coast Guard, the Corps of Engineers, across local government, state government, federal government. We had heroes